Hello, this is Elder High Priestess Tehila from the Covenant of the Open Mind, and you are watching Wicca 101 Abridged. Hail and welcome. Today's topic will be reincarnation. Reincarnation is popular in many world religions, from the well-known Eastern interpretations to the lesser-known forms found within Judaism and Hermeticism. Beliefs surrounding the mechanism behind reincarnation, how it works, why it happens, all differ from tradition to tradition, but there are still many similarities as well. For instance, some believe you can reincarnate as animals or inanimate objects, and others don't. But most people who believe in reincarnation do say that there is an objective to the many lifetimes you lead on this plane of existence. Due to how widespread the belief in reincarnation is, it's very hard to know where the idea originated. We do know the idea is incredibly old, as the theme of the wheel or the cycle is found all throughout global history and in ancient texts and carvings and drawings. Perhaps it was from watching the moon wax fill the sky with wonder and light and then wane into non-existence over and over again that led the first humans to understand the cyclical nature of things. The ebb and flow, the cardinal, fixed, and mutable states of life. And from this idea, and given many, many moons to evolve, reincarnation has become a vast occult field with associated beliefs and practices dedicated just to understanding this part of the self. In some religions, reincarnation is believed to be non-optional, instead being seen as something which occurs automatically based on your past behavior, a requirement for you to achieve, something like that before you can move forward along your spirit's journey. This is the most familiar take on reincarnation, I think, and it involves karma, which literally translates to action. The idea here is that how one chooses to act across many lifetimes reflects how good or bad that person is overall in a spiritual sense. So those who are good reincarnate into lives which enable them to do good and grow spiritually, and those who are bad reincarnate into lives where there's great suffering, obstacles to overcome, or no ability to grow spiritually at all. Say if they reincarnated as an inanimate object or a bug, which is what some people believe would be like a punishment for having bad karma. So others believe that souls are always given a choice of when and where to be born, and this is the more common Wiccan view. The other one's more Eastern. This way, like souls that are awaiting rebirth can choose the lives they would like, those with the best potential for spiritual growth or for the benefit of others, depending on what the nature of their being is and what their objective is in life. Most Wiccans would say that the karma of past lives does not play a huge role in determining what type of embodied life you'll have in the future. Karma is more of like you get what you get, you get what you give kind of thing in Wicca, not as much relating to reincarnation. Likewise, most Wiccans do not believe that people reincarnate as animals. Many do. I believe that people can. But many don't believe that you can. And most people don't believe that. And within Wicca, most people don't believe that you can reincarnate as inanimate objects. Wiccans do believe that these forms, animals, inanimate objects, etc., all contain spirit or consciousness of a form, but not an animal soul like a human soul. It's hard for me to talk about this, divorcing my beliefs from the subject, so let me be clear. So some people would say that that these things contain, spirit, but not a human soul. They're not connected to the divine. And some would say that animals are not either. I do not personally believe that. I believe that everything that is animated, that has an embodied form, has consciousness of any kind. is connected to divinity in some amount, but it varies. And, some animals might be connected to divinity more than some people. Okay. But, some humans and all animals are really people, but that's just my take. That's my view. Many Wiccans agree with that perspective. I'm not alone in that, but it's definitely a bit more controversial than that. So I want to be very clear. So an embodied animated being ordinarily is, what we consider to be a conscious existence. But these other forms, the forces, the elements, the spirits of the dead, deity, even chaos, the fundamental forces which make up our world and tie us all together, but themselves are beyond embodied existence. They have a consciousness, but they're beyond embodied existence. These forces are abstractions of life energy, of the all conscious. Okay, the state of being which unites all things as one. It's the same life force that we all share, as the gods are within and around us, as above, so below. However, embodied beings are concentrations of the life force, or a bunch of life energy all stuck together in one place, so that it can't easily conceive of a world in which such physical impositions and limitations did not exist. So in order to be alive in the conventional sense, you have to be conscious, and therefore your physical vessel has to be capable of supporting consciousness, i.e. not inanimate. So Wiccans don't believe that people can reincarnate as inanimate objects because the human consciousness is tied to an embodied existence, and you have to therefore have a vessel, a physical body that's capable of consciousness, and inanimate objects don't have consciousness. Plants have a form of consciousness, right? They communicate with each other, and they communicate over fungal networks and send signals and have feelings and respond to emotions and music and stuff. So they're like conscious in a very different way than humans are. It's very obvious. The earth has something similar, but you'll find that most objects that are produced by mankind, that are essentially artificial, tend not to have a very defined consciousness. Out in nature, it's more present, which is why we feel more in touch with divinity when we're in nature, because the consciousness of the universe, of the world, becomes obvious to us. Okay, so that's a bit of a tangent, but interesting nonetheless. So now Wiccans, if Wiccans do believe in reincarnating as animals, then most believe that it would be your choice to do so. So my familiar, Frank, I'm pretty sure that he is just me in animal form. So like, I'm going to die one day. When I do, I will come back as my dog. I'm like positive, because he and I just like get each other. And if you ever see us together, then you'll totally understand. It's really freaky. And I'm like, yeah. So this is a nice segue into talking about how reincarnation and necromancy tie in together. When contacting the spirits of the dead, you aren't really reaching through the past and finding a person and pulling their energy into the present, yada yada. It's not really how it works. In reality, you're tapping into the all-conscious, a state found buried deep within all of us beings of spirit. Okay, so whatever people, humans, animals that are capable of connecting to the divine, that have spirit within them, some don't, I really mean that, then, all beings of spirit, have this mode in which time and reality don't exist in the same way. The imagination, the part of us that is transient. And in this mode, all of time is happening at once. The past, present, and future are all right now. So we can become aware of things in this state, things that have happened, things that will happen, etc. So life energy governs the here and now, the spirit active, while death energy governs the past and future, the spirit passive. So when you feel a ghost around, it isn't like a person is standing there unseen, ooh, spooky, no, it's just death energy, or a lack of life energy, a void. And you interpret this energy to be a person, perhaps smelling a dead relative's perfume or seeing a shadowy figure, etc., because that is what the purpose of embodied life is, to bring order into existence. So we see patterns in things and make connections. And what is really happening is that you are bridging the gap to the other world where all things are and time doesn't exist. And in this way, reincarnation as a concept doesn't hinder spirit work at all. Think about it like this. There's a large, very large part of most people that is already dead because they have lived many lives before this one. And people are always connected to the all-conscious, the Tao, God, whatever you want to call it. And in a world outside of time, there are no rules, so there is no way to know for sure that we aren't one person living many lives simultaneously. And if that interests you, you should read the poem The Egg, because it's very good at illustrating that philosophy. I forget the author, I'm sorry, but it's called The Egg. You should find it. If you type The Egg, reincarnation, you should find it. Now, people can feel a bit exhausted or have headaches or restless dreams if their energy is being bound. So even if you are reaching for the energy of their past lives, if you're contacting a person from the past and that person's life, that person's living right now, they might experience some exhaustion. And people have this. People have off days, right? That's what that is, right? That's like people borrowing your energy across space and time. And for this reason, that's why many people consider binding spirits to be an evil act. They say it's something of black magic, but you can actually commune with the spirit and ask permission before you bind them. And then the person will know that they're going to be exhausted in advance, kind of they'll just have a sense of it. They'll just plan to call in sick or something. I'm not joking. This is really a thing that happens. So I personally don't think that it's black magic as long as you commune with the spirit and ask permission. But there are many who say it's black magic, period, and binding is evil. And, you can decide for yourself. So we won't go into that because, the field of necromancy is far too nuanced to be dismissed so easily as evil. Past life regression is a very common technique amongst Wiccans and white witches all over, but it is technically necromancy because it makes use of spirit passive energy connecting to the all-conscious through a specific person's energy. So you're finding death energy through a person, right? So that is a very complex form of magic that involves binding and death magic. So, but that's not considered evil. People do that all the time. So anyway, controversial topic. Needs a video all to itself. For now, let's move on to discussing reincarnation. So, many of the more deity-centered Wiccans take the mindset that all things which happen to us are blessings, sometimes in disguise. This is a viewpoint which other religions share as well. As many know, for instance, within Orthodox Judaism, the belief that one chooses one's own incarnation manifests along the lines of God only gives us what we can handle. Right? So something which is also commonly stated by Christians. And what people are really saying with this statement is if someone chooses their own incarnations, then they can surely trust that everything which happens in this lifetime happens for a reason and for the betterment of oneself. All things are good things, essentially. In this way, people view every obstacle they face as having been sent by deity or something that they themselves choose on purpose, being certain that it can be overcome with the skills, knowledge, and wisdom already contained within their spiritual toolkit. It came with the birthright, So you can find out what's in your spiritual toolkit by doing some astrology. We have a lecture series going on that if you're interested on another part of our channel, so check that out. So if the purpose of overcoming obstacles in life is to grow spiritually, then to what end, right? When does the cycle stop? In Kabbalah, it's stated that the purpose is to reach a state of perfection, okay, wherein oneness is attained with God, and the need for embodied existence ends. You've learned all of your lessons. You're done. In Hebrew, the name for God translates to was, is, and will be all at once, implying that to think about the nature of existence or of one's own existence, as all existence is just existence, really, that's the one thing we all have in common. Deities, humans, chaos, the elements, everything exists, right? Humans don't exist, so I guess it's a little different, but so the purpose of all of this is if you're thinking about your own existence, the existence of God, it doesn't matter. You're still contemplating divinity itself. You're still contemplating God. Any amount of reflection upon existence is reflection upon God in Judaism. So whatever you call that in your own path. So, as one considers the nature of one's own spiritual existence, then one is also contemplating the universe and can furthermore come to see the oneness of all things. And many religions share this interpretation, including Buddhism and Wicca, and in some sense even Christianity, in that while there are not many lifetimes within Christianity, there is a state of enlightenment and goodness which comes to those who lead good, meaningful lives to the benefit of all. So it's similar. And this leads us to the discussion of enlightenment. So it really needs its own video, but the thing is that the idea of enlightenment isn't really Wiccan, so I probably wouldn't put it in this series. Witches don't live their lives with the goal of achieving total perfection normally. Some do. However, it's worth bringing up what enlightenment means, even though most people aren't actually seeking enlightenment. They're just seeking practices that benefit themselves and their lives and help them be better people. And, enlightenment will come one day when it's time. That's what most witches would say. So enlightenment is the state of being wherein one's physical existence is no longer necessary. Folks typically come to realize that they are in this state while alive, but the process cannot be completed until they are dead, because they have to leave their physical bodies behind. In this state of mind, the state of enlightenment, there's full awareness of the divinity of all things, the all consciousness, that which unites us all. And that said, someone who's enlightened wouldn't necessarily stand out as such from a distance. In Taoism, they say that those who seek truth, or rather those who seek knowledge, will never know truth. And such contradictory statements, which all point to one thing, which is that being enlightened isn't about the details, nor the way it changes you, though it does have a way of broadening your perspective, obviously. But being enlightened is about living in tune with oneself and the world around you. Living is not hard. Being happy and at peace with what comes to you in life is not hard, that sort of thing. So enlightenment is a state of being whereby your psyche never interferes with your ability to be effective. And you are able to easily make choices that are beneficial to you and those around you. So it is a state of being worth seeking, but one which only comes to those who do not yearn for it, who do not seek it out. So, and what that means is that learning to be at peace with one's existence, accepting in good faith the trials and tribulations laid out for you by yourself and your gods, that's the largest step on the journey to enlightenment, and that's what Wiccans focus on doing. In this way, life is a ritual, and our souls but a series of transformative sessions of learning and growing. Each session occurs in sacred space, a circle of infinite size, created by divine will for all of us to utilize and wholly experience. Each time we are born here, we must experience, learn, and grow by choosing our own fates and becoming our best selves. There is no one path which any person could take. Each person must forge their own way forward, building a divine persona out of cosmic materials and age-old wisdom. And through the crafting and practice of our own traditions, those which help us to feel at home in our own spiritualities, we may come to know all which is divine, truly and meaningfully. Thanks for watching Wicca 101 Abridged, and from all of us here at the Coven of the Open Mind, blessed be.